You're past the other day now. Been able to have your words with the team. What ways have they responded? What are you expecting out of them in terms of how they approach the game tomorrow?
Yeah, it's kind of an emotional game. The last two games at home have been like emotional games because, in fairness, through good stretches of the game, it wasn't that we played poorly. We need to be more cutthroat in the box and around the goal in terms of creating chances, and we need to, if teams are going to sit back, play us on counter, do that kind of stuff, then we really have to remember to protect ourselves and to be more cutthroat, I guess, as you would say, in the defensive transitions. But we've seen now two teams who've come into our building and have sat low and played us on these fast counterattacks. We've had possession. They've hurt us both times, and we've gotten behind in the game, and then it pours gas on the fire that they can sit into that block and keep transitioning us. So we need to learn to win those games. Again, when we're on the road, I think teams play us more straight up, and we've actually had some pretty good results in that way. So we've got to learn how to win these games in different ways. We got to learn how to win games at home if we happen to give up the first goal. But all in all, for me, is we've got to, if we're going to have 73% possession and play a lot of that in the attacking half the field, we need more good chances. We need more goals. We need the opposition scrambling to protect their goal more than we did the other night. So that's a little bit of a mentality to finish attacks, to be a little bit more decisive in the final action. That's what I'm looking for to this group. So it's not just about playing pretty well, it's about doing the things you have to do to win games, and that's decisive stuff in the attacking box. And if teams are sitting on us, that means we have to be very smart about how we defend in transition. But I thought some of our defending and our shape, I thought was quite good. I thought they had a really difficult time doing things. So there's some positives out of it. The negatives for us are just the mentality to really make teams pay if they're going to sit low, and to really be thinking about the goal and finishing chances and preparing ourselves to score. So for us, we got to come out in this game with a fighter mentality also, because this is a team with more confidence. They're going to come out and play. They're not going to sit back on us. It'll be, both teams trying to impose their will on this game and their style of play, which is different. Both teams want to play in the other team's half of the field, so that'll be an interesting challenge. But first and foremost in any derby, it's a competition first and foremost, and then if you can establish yourself in the game, then you can establish your vision and try to play your way. But first and foremost, we have to be up for the battle and the competition side of it.
With opponents finding success in that low block, is that kind of a recipe for defenses coming in here? Is that something you guys...
Well, I would imagine some teams see that as a recipe. I think they would have to determine if that suits them, if they feel like they're strong enough defensively to withstand us having 65-70% possession and being around their goal. If they feel like they can withstand that, then a couple teams have come in and showed that can be a successful formula. We have to change that image, right? We have to make sure that teams understand if they do that, we're going to punish them, and then it doesn't allow them that as an option, and then we open up the game a little bit more. So it's on us. We have to be able to manage, and I've said this before and I said this in the past, and you have to win games in different ways, because oppositions are going to come and pose different threats, right? And it's for sure when you get behind in games, which we have early in the last couple of games, then it poses a different challenge. So we've got to be able to manage that and do better.
When you look at playing LAFC, I think you said a couple earlier in the season that the rivalry only grows when you're meeting in knockout games, and here it is, the second one between these two teams. What do you remember about the old Galaxy San Jose games and how that sort of elevated that rivalry?
Yeah, again, I think it's all based on emotion, and there's always emotion in derbies and there's always emotion in league games, but when you play a league game early in this season, there's a lot of points still out there. It's not as defining in a moment. Whereas when you play in knockout games, it's a defining moment. It's emotional, and one team goes home and they're done with an event or a tournament, a playoff or whatever, and the other team keeps going on. And so for me, that always brings. I mean, San Jose, there was only so many teams in the league. San Jose was our rival. All of these games that were knockout, whether they were Open Cup or playoff games, they always had a little bit more juice in them. They always had, with the fans, a little bit more, because it's bragging rights, right? There's things in there that the fans see as hugely important, the players see hugely important, and ultimately the race for both clubs is trophies, right? Who's the trophy case? We have one from the past. but we've got to build one about our present and our future, and they're trying to build theirs as a relatively new club, so this is one of those opportunities where a knockout game presents itself with another chance to win a trophy on the other side of this game. So that adds to the emotion, and the emotion adds to the allure of any rivalry, in my opinion.
Greg, from previous experience playing against LAFC, do you feel like your players step up their game when they're playing LAFC?
Well, I think it's possible. I mean, I think the concentration, attention to detail, maybe some of those things when games feel bigger, when it's a rivalry, whoever that rivalry is, I think it just, maybe you get 5%, 10% more in terms of concentration, going a little extra further, things like that can exist. A lot of these guys are friends with guys on the other side. You never really want to lose to someone who's your friend, because that's also internal bragging rights. There's a lot that goes into that subconsciously or consciously you get just a little bit more in these games. And so, that's the anticipation of both sides tomorrow, which makes it also an exciting rivalry. And these games have always been a little crazy and adventurous and fun for the fans, not always for the coaches, but fun for the fans.
And the last time it was pretty crazy. There were a lot of controversial calls. Tomorrow there's no VAR. As a coach, do you care about that stuff?
I don't. I mean, it's a world that we usually live in, and I haven't quite decided if I love it or hate it. Depends on the day and depends on the calls. So this one's straight up. We got to win it. The referees were going to referee the game, and we got to make the plays to win the game. So I'm okay with that. I think that's old school. That's the way it used to be. So we got to do it.
Do you have a feel for why the Galaxy have been the better team in this series?
Not really. I mean, I think, it's hard to say. It's hard to say if pride, history, past, if any of that has really anything to do with things. I think the Galaxy has been able to, each one of these games is different, and I think, the Galaxy has been able to make more plays than LAFC in many of these games for one reason or another. I can't really explain why. But this is a club in the past, and hopefully again present and future, that when it's been a big game and things have been on the line, players have answered that call. But it's hard to say. I feel like every game is a different game. I don't know if I buy too much into the ghosts of the past and how those affect the game that's tomorrow. So two teams, whoever has the best form and plays the best and most importantly executes. I mean, the other night we played all right, but we didn't execute, and the game is about moments, and whoever takes their moments is going to have the best chance of winning the game.
Speaking of ghosts, there's some thought that the way that Zlatan came in and took care of that first meeting, that kind of set some, whether it's set something up in the cosmos or just in the back of the minds of LAFC, that's kind of held sway.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think when the discussion can be around, we've never won there, we've never won here, even when you talk about that inside your group, it does create a presence of something that may or may not be important the next day or on the next game. But it's certainly, once it's talked about, it's out in the atmosphere, and when things are in the atmosphere, you never know how they impact the mentality of certain players or anything like that. So for me personally, I think for us it's about performance, it's about execution, because we've failed to execute in the last few games the way we'd like to. And it's about competition, because whenever you play your rivals, you got to step up and be ready for that.
Koulibaly, Sasha, Zavaleta, are we missing anyone?
So far, those three are the ones ruled out for tomorrow. So far. Yeah.
Where are they in terms of getting back?
Sega, we had positive news because we were really concerned about his issue. It was knee. The positive is it wasn't ACL related, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
Does he need surgery?
We're not 100% sure yet, but it will be a little bit of time. It's not going to be this week, and then we go into a longer break. So hopefully when we get on the other side of that break, he'll be on the right side of things. Sasha was just a hip flexor strain from the other day, and who was the other one you mentioned? Eric is a growing issue. With Sega going down, we don't really want to rush Eric back into the equation. He could be okay by this weekend, probably. He's starting to train. It's just it's a risk reward, and we already have one center back down for a little while, so it's we got to be a little bit wary of what we're doing with him. But he's on the right side of this and could be ready by the weekend.
Well, the break is a nice thing to have there because you get, extends the amount of time you have to get him back.
Sure. Again, like the break is always, these breaks are always a catch-22. Sometimes it's a chance to reboot and fix some things or get some guys healthy. It's also can be complete for teams that are doing really well going into break. It can be just a break of momentum. There's a lot of things. So we'll take it at this point. Just again, get some guys healthy and rebuild off of after the first stretch of games, right, for the second half. Good. All right. Is that everyone? Thank you guys. Appreciate it.